Larry and Joan go to the party to find out the sex of their son's baby. Just before going in, Larry tells Joan that they need to inform their children about her illness. Inside, the family finds some old photos of Joan, including some of her first husband, Luke. When her granddaughter asks about him, Joan explains that Luke died in the war. Meanwhile, Larry starts eating, but suddenly chokes, collapses, and dies. Shortly after, a younger version of Larry wakes up on a train. He watches the other passengers get off at the station and gets off too. Someone informs him that his afterlife coordinator will take care of him, which confuses Larry even more. When he approaches the receptionist, she simply repeats that his coordinator will explain everything to him. Finally, Anna, Larry's afterlife coordinator, arrives. She calmly explains to him that he is dead. Larry refuses to believe her, so she shows him his reflection, his younger self. She explains that people appear here in their happiest version of themselves, but Larry is more concerned about Joan and his family. She clarifies that this place is not heaven, but simply eternity, and she warns him never to go through any red doors. She shows him his temporary room and tells him he must stay there until he chooses his eternity. Anna then presents him with several eternity options and leaves. Shortly after, Larry wanders around the station. He goes to a bar where a woman approaches him trying to sell him her eternity services. Then Larry meets Luke, who used to work there as a bartender. Luke asks him what his plans are, and he explains that once you choose an eternity, it's forever. If someone breaks the rules, they are sent into the void. Larry confesses that Joan has a terminal illness and he regrets not being with her during her last days. The next morning, Anna wakes Larry up. He asks her why people work if this is the afterlife. Anna explains that many people are waiting for their loved ones or have not yet chosen their eternity. She also says that if Larry intends to stay, he will have to work as a cleaner and live in the basement. The days pass as Larry waits for Joan, preparing everything so that she will feel at home when she arrives. In the end, Larry chooses his eternity. Meanwhile, in the real world, Joan dies in the hospital, surrounded by her family. Joan then wakes up on the same train Larry was on. As Larry heads toward the train, he meets Joan. Larry takes Joan to meet Luke, intending to introduce him as his friend. But Joan understands exactly that he is her first husband. Now Joan finds herself in a difficult situation. She must choose between Larry and Luke. Her personal assistant takes her to get changed, but Joan is overwhelmed by seeing both men young and attractive again. Meanwhile, Anna admits that Luke is extremely charming and that he has waited 67 years for his true love. Larry, on the other hand, has spent most of Joan's life with her, raised her children, and built a life with her. Joan and Luke are together, unable to find the right words. Suddenly, security arrives to arrest a man who is trying to escape his eternity. Luke explains the rules to Joan and finally confesses that he still loves her and that he has waited decades. Joan is overwhelmed and says she needs time to think. Feeling guilty towards Luke, Joan prepares to face him again, but it is Larry who meets her instead. Realizing that she needs space, Larry says they will talk later. He tries to stay in her room, but Joan kicks him out. Larry also discovers that he cannot return to his room because his 7 days are up. Anna takes him with her, and Larry tells her that Dean Martin is Joan's favorite singer, so Anna promises to arrange something. Later, she shows Larry a small room and prepares a surprise for Joan. A special Dean Martin show. Joan is thrilled, but the performer turns out to be someone else pretending to be him and ends up falling on stage. While Larry confronts Anna about the failed surprise, the fake Dean Martin starts flirting with Joan. Suddenly, Luke appears and punches the man, then surprises Joan with flowers, causing a heated argument between Larry and Luke. Frustrated, Joan orders both assistants to take Larry and Luke away. She speaks to them privately inside, while the two men wait outside. Meanwhile, Brian and Anna update their superiors on the situation. Soon, Larry and Luke are called back in, and Anna explains that Joan has been granted a special visa. She will have 2 visits with eternity, one with each husband, and then she must decide with whom she wants to spend eternity. A coin toss determines who will go first. Luke wins and takes Joan up the mountain. They spend the day reliving emotions that never really faded. Meanwhile, Larry fears he cannot compete with Joan's deep memories of Luke. Anna tells him to focus on remembering what made Joan fall in love with him. Encouraged, Larry looks for someone who can help him. During Luke and Joan's outing, Joan keeps talking about her children and grandchildren. She feels guilty because Luke waited for her for 67 years, while she remarried only 2 years after his death. Luke admits that the situation is painful, not because she remarried, but because he never got to live his life with her. Luke then takes her to the archive and they relive their past together. Their first meeting, lunch together, the marriage proposal, their first kiss, their wedding, and finally the day Luke left for war. Overwhelmed with emotion, they share a kiss. As they leave, a new memory appears, one that Luke has never seen before. It shows Larry asking Joan to marry him in the same place where Luke last saw her. Meanwhile, Larry visits Karen, Joan's recently deceased friend. He asks her why Joan fell in love with him. Karen says she doesn't know the exact reason, but she knows that Larry made Joan genuinely happy. Meanwhile, Luke angrily asks if Joan would have accepted Larry's proposal, even though she was mourning him. She doesn't know how to answer, and Luke leaves in a rage. Larry later sneaks into Luke's room, looking for something he is sure Luke is hiding, but finds nothing. As he is leaving, Luke returns and the two argue about who Joan should choose. During the scuffle, a piece of paper falls out of Larry's pocket. Joan then goes with Larry to the beach. Joan asks Larry to understand her position, but he insists that he would have waited for her, no matter how long it took. Meanwhile, Luke discovers the letter Larry wrote to Joan. Later, Larry and Joan visit the archive and then sit on the shore. She thanks him for giving her such a beautiful life. Back in the room, they kiss. Suddenly, Anna, Brian, and Luke burst into the room with the letter. The letter reveals that Larry plans to spend his eternity alone, upsetting Joan. Joan then accuses Larry of not even being able to wait a week for her decision. Larry argues that she never loved him as deeply as she loved Luke. Everyone keeps calling Luke perfect, which eventually drives him crazy. He confesses that he has slept with many women over the years and even 2 men. Both Larry and Luke beg Joan to finally choose between them. Joan breaks down, however, and Karen arrives to comfort her. Meanwhile, Larry and Luke end up drinking together in a bar, and surprisingly, they bond. Larry praises Luke for surviving Korea, and Luke admires Larry for raising his children and giving Joan a full and loving life. Meanwhile, Karen tells Joan not to worry about either man, because she is now dead. This is her afterlife, and she owes nothing to anyone. The next day, Joan meets Brian and tells him she has made her final decision. Joan then thanks Larry for making her happy again. She also thanks Luke for making her feel special during the time they spent together. In the end, she chooses neither of them. Joan explains that choosing one would break the other's heart, and she loves them both too much to do that. The next day, Joan leaves for Paris with Karen. Larry and Luke then spend time together. Larry reveals that Luke was the last person he saw before he died. Luke laughs and says that his happiest moment with Joan was when they were about to start a family. Larry says his happiest moment was when Joan was pregnant with their second child and smiled after secretly taking a sip of wine, even though her doctor had told her not to. Suddenly, Larry realizes something and rushes off. He finds Joan's train and admits that Luke deserves to be with her. Larry says that seeing Joan happy makes him happy. Joan hugs him tightly, crying. Luke and Joan board the train to go to their eternity, while Larry stays behind, convinced he made the right choice. Later, Larry meets Brian and Anna, who are now officially a couple. Anna tells him she is proud of him and thanks him for helping her understand her purpose in the afterlife. Larry then reveals that he has chosen his eternity. Meanwhile, Luke and Joan settle into their new eternity. They spend their days playing, meeting new people, and loving each other. But Joan can't stop thinking about Larry. Every night, she sneaks into the archive to watch her memories with Larry. The next day, Luke enthusiastically organizes a hot air balloon ride. But Joan finally admits that she made a mistake. She says that he did nothing wrong, but she has to leave. Luke warns her that walking through the red doors will lead her into the void. Joan tells him she loves him, but she has to go. Joan decides to steal the keys, but suddenly, Luke appears and tells her she'll need help. Together, they watch the memory of their wedding day. Joan looks at Luke one last time, then leaves. As a car chases her and guards run after her, she crawls onto the railroad tracks and escapes by slipping under a passing train. She reaches the receptionist and asks her which eternity Larry has chosen, but when an alert is issued, she runs away again, bumping into Brian and Anna, who are shocked to see her. They help her distract the police. So Joan heads to a bar where Larry now works as a bartender. She discovers that he never left. She tells him she knows a place, but Larry thinks about it for a moment, then agrees to go with her. They escape to an inactive eternity, a hidden place where no one can find them, and there Joan and Larry live together for eternity. What is your eternity? If you like this video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thank you for watching.